Hi, welcome to the Built from Scratch podcast. I'm Riley.
I'm Addie.
And this is Amber Gates, our first participant on the podcast. Could you start by telling us a little about yourself and how you got into event planning?
Absolutely. So I grew up in a family where events were just our day-to-day norm. We were the house that everybody came to, so it kind of just was from childhood on. I fell in love with it, and then from there got into the hospitality industry, working in restaurants, and then in high school found myself in a culinary arts class where the instructor was like, "Who needs an internship for the summer?" And I was like, "I do, but I do not want to work in a kitchen. I'm really done with restaurants. I really want to be on the front of house side of things." And I ended up working at a facility called City Place Events. It was originally Conference Hospitality Group. They rebranded to City Place Events. And that's really where I learned the foundation of everything that I know today. So I did everything from accounting to site tours to working on contracts, actually working the events and everything in between. And from there just grew, built, and swore I would never own my own business. People make plans, God laughs, and here we are today. So that's the short version of how I started out in the industry.
And then what was your very first event planning experience like?
Gosh, that was a long time ago. If I'm being honest, I don't remember the very first event.
What was the first one when you started Refined Planning?
When I started Refined Planning, actually it was a referral. I had several clients already lined up when I started Refined Planning, and I had somebody call a few weeks out and they're like, "I need an extra pair of hands. I need help. I need a planner. I don't live in the city. I am planning a surprise 70th birthday party." And I said, "How can I help?" That's really what I love to do. Is I love to take that to-do list and take it off of people's plates and just make their lives easier. There's nothing better than walking into an event and seeing somebody just go, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." That's literally why I do what I do. That's what brings me joy. And so that's what I was able to do for this family. The lady who I was helping, it was her sister-in-law, and she was turning 70. She typically went on cruises, and they were like, "She doesn't get to go on a cruise this year. She's having some health issues. So we're going to bring the tropics to her." And that's what we did. And so we did it in a space that she was comfortable in, that she was familiar with, and just transformed that area into a tropical oasis for
Very fun.
Yeah.
When you're planning an event from scratch, what's the first thing you do?
Typically, brainstorming is kind of one of those terms that I think is used loosely. Everybody has their own way of brainstorming, and I don't think that that's talked about very often. Riley, she is great at mood boards. And so watching her create a mood board, I can sit and spitball and throw spaghetti at walls, and Riley will take it and like put things into a picture where I'm like, "Yes, that!" Or I'm like, "No, not that. I don't like this picture. Try again. I don't like that one." Fun fact, Riley was my intern. And I still work with Riley pretty regularly, but that was one of her strong points. For me, brainstorming looks like 2 a.m. I can't sleep, and I'm laying in bed and I'm like, "Oh, what if?" And that's kind of my version of brainstorming. They just kind of hit me at the weirdest times, but it's just that subconscious, constantly thinking about whatever the event may be. So for Spritz, which was the first of my modern day speakeasy event series, it was trying to think about all things sparkly, high society, cocktail hour, the golden hour of sunset, and what things go with that. I always have on sparkly shoes. That's what I'm known for. And so just trying to weave things in that pertain to that was just the constant conversation I was having with myself in the back of my head. And then anytime I had a thought, I was like, let me write that down really fast. And so that's.
Can you say more about your modern day speakeasy event series?
I sure can. So that is my version of marketing. As an event planner, what I do is really hard to capture in a picture because what I do is beautiful and fun and exciting, but I provide experiences. And the way that I make people feel at an event or during an event or after an event is really what I do. And so popping a photo in a magazine or on a billboard just doesn't do it for people. Why are you going to come and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars with me and invest that money if you don't know what I do and all you've seen is pictures? And videos are great. Pictures say 1,000 words, videos say even more because it's a moving picture. But at the end of the day, there's nothing like experiencing an event. And so when I have the ability to bring people in, and essentially what I did was create a styled shoot where you bring in people and actually let them experience that styled shoot. That was kind of the initial premise. And then on the back end, it's very much so a vendor showcase. So you bring in vendors that you have worked with, haven't worked with, want to work with, and really just strategically pick those different vendors so that when you put together whatever the theme may be, so the theme changes and the style changes and the location changes every single event, whenever that changes, as do the vendors. But those vendors come in and they are essentially donating their time, their talent, their energy. I pay the hard, fast cost. And that's really what makes this different than just a traditional open house at a venue, because typically, if you're a vendor out there and you've ever worked at an open house, you know that it's a come, please bring your A game, bring the highest quality product you have, and I have $0 to give you. What I try to do is really make it worth my vendor's while. So I'm going to pay those hard, fast costs, essentially food cost or liquor cost or whatever that may be. And then I provide all of the marketing material. I cover security, venue cost, and then I also, at the end of the event, give them the marketing that I have received from both the professional photographer and videographer. Again, giving exposure to then those two people. And so it really is meant to be full circle. It works for everybody. It's fun. It's a way to showcase. It's also a way for my vendors to, I tell them all the time, please let me be your guinea pig. Try out a new product. If you have something fun that you've been wanting to try, but there's a low risk situation here. Like, bring in a new product, try a new product, have some fun. That's the entire premise of this event. What makes this a speakeasy concept is, yes, the changing location, but also the fact that I don't actually tell people where they're going until 72 hours before the event. So when guests go to buy tickets,
is that because sometimes you don't know where the event's going to be 72 hours before?
Listen, you know a little too much there, Missy. I have had in the past venues that that decided the week of that they actually changed their minds and they were not interested in participating anymore, and really throw a wrench in things. It is difficult. Riley can definitely speak to that. It makes for a really fun work week because you're constantly on your toes. And we've had it with all different vendors across the board that are like, actually can't do that. I had one vendor for my very first one that her ex-husband committed suicide. And so she obviously was not able to be there. Like, when that happens, there's nothing that you could have done to prevent that, to have foreseen that. It doesn't matter how great of a planner you are. Sometimes things just happen and you have to be able to roll with the punches. So it's fun. It's fun. It's exciting. You never know what's.
And are you just in the Oklahoma area, or do you travel?
I will absolutely travel. There might be a travel fee associated with, depending upon how far we're traveling, but yeah, I will go just about anywhere you need me.
What's something people usually don't realize goes on behind the scenes of an event?
Where to start? That's an iceberg. What tip do I want to touch on today? Probably the pivoting. I think that is the number one thing that people don't realize. I think it's really easy to say, oh, you're an event planner, and so you plan all the details, and then you get there and you execute and you move on, and that sounds great. And that's if everything goes exactly as planned, nothing happens, Oklahoma weather participates nicely, you know, your guests don't get drunk, or like, there are so many outside factors that go into the event that you're actually planning. And so when you have situations arise, and it's not if but when they arise that you weren't expecting, you can plan A, plan B, and plan C all day long. But if you can't pivot, you're in for a really, really rough time in this industry, because you have to be able to just melt and then pick up and move right along. And if you can't do that, then Godspeed. Yeah.
So I'm sure every day is a little different. What would like a really busy day in your life look like?
So I have 3 kids.
Oh, okay.
So a really busy day in my life is Tuesdays. All of my kids have activities. They're all going in different directions. And then if I have client meetings, my oldest gets dropped off at school at 7:30 in the morning. So from 7:30, the earliest meeting I'm going to then plan is an 8 a.m. I go all day long, and then we're, you know, in different activities. But what I do is so different day to day, because I might be planning an event, I might be breaking down an event, I might be doing all of the post work, which is another thing people don't realize. Like, after an event, it's really about looking at it as a whole, especially if you're going to do something with that organization again, or you're going to do something similar like that again. How can we make this better next time? It's not just about executing that event. It's also about then looking at it afterwards and seeing, okay, we're always striving to be better than we were yesterday. So what can we do next time to make this even more seamless? Let's streamline this. Let's do this differently. How can we look at things differently? And then thanking guests or touching base with clients and saying, like, is there anything else that you need help with? Is there another upcoming event that I can be of assistance for? Things like that. And then always networking. Always networking. Holy smokes, I cannot say it enough. If you're not networking, your 4 months from now is going to be empty. Like, that's just the reality of it. So no matter how busy you are right now in this season, you still have to be networking for 4 to 6 months down the road. And really even a year down the road, because who you meet today or tomorrow might not need you until next year. And that's really the reality of any industry, not just event planning. So that's kind of a general statement against all industries. If you're not networking, you're losing out.
I had a question about the challenges, like what's the hardest part, but I want to know more, like, with pivoting and the feelings that go along with that, like what's kind of going through your mind when you have to make those decisions?
We'll start with the pivoting question. There's nothing more disheartening than when you spend hours, days, weeks, months planning things out meticulously, and then one thing happens and it's a domino effect. And I mean, one of the hardest moments I can speak to is a catering situation where, I mean, an hour, maybe 45 minutes before guests are supposed to arrive, and there's a catering catastrophe. And I do mean catastrophe. And it's just, how do you fix this? And if you can't, I think so many times people don't allow themselves to just feel all the feels. And you do. Like, if you are in a space where you can feel all the feels, like whatever it is, scream, squeal, holler, whatever, get it all out of your system for that 7 seconds and just go, ugh. Okay. This event has to go on. The show must go on. Whatever the saying, whatever the industry, like, it doesn't change the fact that you have guests showing up in 45 minutes. You still need to actually, like, prep yourself and get yourself dressed. Like, you have to still pull this off. It is not optional. There is, this is the hand you were dealt. Deal with it. Figure it out. And so if you were in the shoes of the guest, is probably the best way that I can say that I pivot is, if I were a guest walking in, what can I as a planner do to make sure the guest never knew the situation I'm dealing with right now? Like, what is my best option? And sometimes the options are not good, no matter which way you look at it. Like, all the options are bad. You have to, in that moment, make a snap decision on what the best option is. It's like those awful tests that everybody took as kids where it's like, choose the best answer. I mean, like, you can think it's the best answer, but me as the teacher, I might have a different best answer.
Trust
so
us, we're still going through it,
so I mean, like, your professor might say, like, no, actually the best answer was this, and you're like, no, actually the best answer was this one. It was the one I picked. So if we could talk about it and you could raise my grade, that'd be good. So that's pivoting. That's probably what goes on in my mind. Challenging is just balancing all the things, and that will come in any industry, in any job that I think any person chooses, be it a female, be it a male. My husband is awesome, hands down, one of the greatest people, my biggest cheerleader, also my biggest support system. We have 3 girls, and so you have to figure out who's doing what and where are the kids and who's watching the kids. And you're going to be out of town, so sometimes things on my end I have to sacrifice going to this meeting or that, or reschedule things. Kids get sick. You have to prioritize and make choices before getting into whatever field you're going to be in, of where do my priorities lie. And if you can figure that out ahead of time, life will be a whole lot easier. Every interview I ever went to before I opened my own business was, my mom always laughed at me. She would always say, Amber, do you even want this job? Like, you interview, like, you don't even want this job. But I would always tell employers, I am a mom, a wife, and a friend before I am ever your employee. And that's where my priorities lie. And I need you as an employer to know that is where my priorities lie. I work to live. I do not live to work. And so if you can get really honest with yourself before you go and sit down with a potential boss, so that they know, like, come hell or high waters, if my kids are sick, guess what? I won't be here. Like, if my husband's out of town, or if he has a meeting he can't miss. Now, don't get me wrong, there's trade-offs, right? Like, if I have meetings I really can't miss, then yeah, we're absolutely going to trade off, and I'm going to be here if I can. But if I can't, guess what? My family comes first. End of story. So, the other side of that is I always treated my employer's business as if it were my own. And I would always say, I don't want to own my own business. I don't want to deal with all of that. So I am happy to treat your business like it's mine because I don't want to have the stress of that. I come from generational business owners. I know the stress and the hardships that come with that. So I'm happy to just work my honey off for you. Hands down. Like I said, people make plans, God laughs, and here we are. I own Refined Planning. So,
Do you have any memorable events or like favorite events that you've planned?
I do. My modern day speakeasy is probably still hands down my favorite that I have done to date. Just because the reward of seeing something that you have poured into and put every ounce of your soul into, watching that come to fruition is really heartwarming. There's no other way to put it. Other than that, one of the events that I worked on that was probably the coolest event, I was not the lead planner on it, but I was part of the team that executed it, was with the first company I worked with, Conference Hospitality Group, and we transformed an airplane hangar into a gala.
Wow.
For the McKinney Education Foundation. I'm from Plano, Texas, and when we transformed that gala for the McKinney Education Foundation, the keynote speaker was George W. Bush. And so we had Secret Service. I had a ton of, I was still in high school at the time, and we had a ton of students come and work the event as well. So I was kind of that liaison, if you will, of making sure everybody got their paperwork in for Secret Service to do background checks and all of those things, just all the things that you would expect to come from a very high level event. It was so cool, to put it in really basic terms. It's one of those surreal moments where you just walk in and you're like, wow, to know that I'm part of this is so cool. So, yeah.
What advice do you have for college students that are planning fundraisers, sorority, fraternity events, anything college related?
Get off Pinterest. For the love, get off Pinterest. There are so many cool ideas that you guys have. They're just right here. And if you would get off of Pinterest and your phone and just go out into the world and experience things, I promise you will be absolutely shocked at the number of ideas that will come to you just by experiencing life and by your own creativity. It's not about Pinterest perfect events. Picture perfect, fine. You want a picture perfect event? Awesome. You want that awesome photo? Yeah, we all do. That's kind of the inspiration of Pinterest. Finding those Pinterest worthy pictures, fine. But figure out what the goal of your event is. Think strategically with what do you want your guests to experience? How do you want them to feel? What do you want them to remember after they leave? And then use all of the knowledge that you have from your college classes and intertwine that in. You guys have so many great resources and so many different students, whether it's in a sorority house, a fraternity house, in an organization on campus, just friends that you become friends with, dorm mates, apartment mates, whatever. All of you are taking different classes and different courses and learning different things. Take those moments, listen to those conversations, get off your phone, be in person, be in the moment. And when you start to have genuine conversations, it will spark new ideas along with going out into the world and experiencing the world. And you'll be, I think, really surprised with what you end up coming up with. Anything else?
For students who want to go into owning their own business in that direction, what advice would you portray on them?
get an internship. Get an internship with an entrepreneur. I think at one point you wanted to own your own business. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was about 4 months in that one of our vendors we worked pretty closely with and consistently with was like, so, you still want to be an event planner and own your own business and essentially do what Amber does, right? And you were like, not anymore, not anymore. And I think that's such a testament to why you should have internships. And it's not about finding the internship that's going to pay you the most, or Lord knows that's not what Riley got. It's about finding the internship that resonates with you and that you think you are going to learn the most with. Be that in the industry that you want to go into and you want to learn more about it, or sometimes it may just be a person that you're like, they are so incredibly knowledgeable on so many different things. I just want to learn from them. Can I just follow you around whenever you are working? And I think those opportunities come around far more than we like to admit. It just may not come with the payment that you think you deserve and want in that moment. But as someone who started out as an unpaid intern, I can tell you there is no greater decision I've ever made in my career than taking that unpaid internship, because that is truly the foundation of everything that I learned. So.
Okay, and then what's one skill college students could start practicing now that would help them in event planning?
Where to start? There's so many. First and foremost, get off your phone. I think that is and I say phone loosely, but phone, laptop, tablet, TV, like get off of your screens. You spend so much time on your screens and so little time recognizing everything around you. Like, when was the last time you went and sat in a doctor's office or a dean's office or any office situation or setting where you had to like wait on someone else? What do? You instantly pick up your phone. From now on, I hope that this is a trigger that if you're sitting down waiting on someone, you then put your phone away. Like, just watch people. Y'all, first of all, it comes with great afternoon stories, like 100%. You will leave and be like, this one lady today. Oh my gosh. Also, you'll watch and you'll see just how truly addicted we are to our phones, because you're going to look around the room and watch everybody. Also, their facial expressions when they're watching their phones, gold. So get off your phones, be present in the moment. You miss so many opportunities getting to meet new people. You have no idea who you're sitting next to if you're on your cell phone, because you aren't making those connections. You aren't talking to people. And you have no idea if that's the next Bill Gates. You have no idea if that's the next Mark Zuckerberg. You have no idea who you're sitting next to if your screen is what has captured your attention. And so my husband laughs and tells me that I pick up strays all the time and I make friends with everybody, which is true, because I try really hard when I'm at the nail salon. I'm like, oh, what color are you getting? Like, or if I'm at, my hair salon down the road and I overhear something and I'm like, oh, you don't let your kids have cell phones until the 8th grade? Do tell. I would love to hear about all of your tips and tricks. Like, it's just little things like that you build these connections with people. And that all kind of leads back to that earlier question of when you are in the moment and experiencing life, you are going to start having these like bursts of ideas, and you have no idea where they're going to come from. But I promise you that if you sat and like did a deep dive on like, where did this idea come from? You would be able to pinpoint it to this moment in time. I remember seeing X, Y, and Z. And so I think it's really, that would be hands down my biggest suggestion. Also, experience new things. Food, events, activities, any of it. Just go experience it. Like, there was a Greek festival in OKC this weekend. How many people went? Like, have you ever gone to something like that? You have no idea what one day you're going to be sitting across from somebody at work and they're going to be like, oh yeah, my grandmother is Greek and da da da. And you now, because you went to this Greek festival, like, have something to talk about. Like, oh my gosh, I never knew I liked Greek food until I went to this Greek festival. Being able to have those conversations. Also, start reading books outside of college. Like, my mom would tell you, I don't read because I listen to all of my books. I'm always on the go. It's one of my favorite things is I pop in earbuds and I listen to a book, and sometimes they're educational and sometimes they're like, for the love, take me out of this reality that I currently live in. Sometimes they're just inspirational books. Sometimes they're about being an entrepreneur and the struggle. Sometimes they're about faith, which for me is foundational in every aspect of my business and how I try really hard to enter every room with that mindset. But read. Like, whatever you want to read, but read. It makes you a better person, a better conversationalist, all of those things. Those are my two.
Thank you so much, Amber, for joining us.
Yes.
This was Built from Scratch podcast. Make sure you follow us and Amber in the link below, and come back next time.
Thank y'all.